Good evening and welcome to Mountain Bears. I'm Aeson and of course I'm sitting down with the techiest, most discovered in the world. Techie Joe, how are you, darling?
I'm doing okay. How are you this evening?
2 foot from aggravated, 1 foot ready to attack.
Ah,
You know,
yeah.
just that moment of like, are you fucking kidding me?
Some days are like that.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah,
really.
I've, the stream is up.
Yay, stream is up.
Yeah. Hello, Miss Brenda. How are you, darling?
Hey, Brenda.
All right. But no, I'm overall okay. I'm feeling good, a lot calmer. We got our meds in us. We got our head together.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
all your meds finally got in.
Hmm.
Oh, the snowstorm was a mess for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Because we simultaneously had a neighbor whose meds were delayed, and kind of the general running theory is that was because of the storm. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, it was just kind of one of those ironies, like they got theirs the same day you got yours.
Right.
So it's like, was the post office just holding it? Were the conditions just finally good enough? Were they trying to deliver, but they just kept putting them on the truck and leaving them there? Like, what was the deal?
Hmm.
So,
Right. Like, what's the plan here, man? Um, and it's like, I don't know. Maybe they just didn't want to get out of the truck and carry them to the porch. That's a possibility.
true, true. Well, not that I can blame them. Like,
Hmm.
it was pretty slick out there. Like, I have to say that for the amount of snow, which would have been one thing, and like, suck it up.
Right.
Um, you know, but then the ice layer on top of it, and the fact that it just kept packing down and becoming crunchier and crunchier.
Right.
Because even now, what we really have left, while it looks like snow,
Hmm.
is mostly ice. Like
Yeah.
it's rock solid.
Right.
So that's why, like this evening, we picked up some ice melt. And so got that spread out so that hopefully that will all clear right before we get hit with another blast.
Yes, and this is going to be a super blast. We're looking at -8 here.
Mhm.
We'll make it through. We
Yeah,
stocked up tonight.
we did.
We did. We stocked up on the necessities to get through this.
Well, it was kind of a good thing that the last storm was. So there were some things going on with the last storm. One, like almost everywhere had sold out of propane,
Mm-hmm.
including the little canister bottles for like your little buddy heaters.
Right.
So all of that had kind of sold out, and then trucks weren't coming to resupply.
Right.
So we've managed over the last few days. All the trucks have gotten in.
Mm-hmm.
Like the screaming orders, because it wasn't just like, "Hi, when you get a moment, can you refill our stock?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, those became, "I need propane yesterday."
Yesterday.
So they have very much heavily
Right.
loaded those restocks.
Right.
So with all that coming in, it actually is working out pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Because like while the tail end of the last one was a little
Mm-hmm.
rough,
Right.
and it was sitting there right on the verge of like this is going to be
Right.
bad. Now
Right.
that like all the trucks have hit, restocking for this storm,
Right.
kind of a piece of cake.
Right.
Like the hardest thing we had to find was actually ice melt. That
Mm-hmm.
was the weirdo one that was like, really?
Right. Now, granted, Walmart's was out of it. They had been out of it for a while. They're busy stocking gardening supplies. They're a month early at least.
Yeah, I think they've gotten way too comfortable with the mild winter scenario,
Right.
and they've been stocking their lawn and garden center really early,
Mm-hmm.
just to have this storm come through. And I'm wondering how much. I wonder how much they're going to actually end up losing.
I don't know. Now I'm in debate. And here's what my debate is. We are going to have a raised garden this year. I don't know if I'm going to try to do seedlings in the house, because we've done really good with our Christmas Christmas star, and pre-grow them, and then that way we just have them and we can put them in Memorial Day weekend and do the calculation back, or where we should do with this. I'm in debate. Like, we could do it. We did it last year, but I'm still not doing them to February.
Yeah. Well, and that's also become part of the issues that we've been facing with the milder winters, is like the unclear season, and sometimes like finding yourself, and especially with a hotter than usual summer,
right?
Like it's like the 1, 2, 3 combo is of like screwed out of plant, screwed out of planting. Is we get this false spring start that keeps kind of going back and forth, and so by the time it actually is time to get stuff in the ground or start, getting those seeds ready, those plants ready to go in the ground, it's kind of like, is it okay? Like, can I actually plant it? Like, is this going to be all right? Because it really sucks to buy a bunch of plants and then lose them because we have one more cold snap.
Right.
Okay, so then we turn around, and so if you delay until you're really, really sure that like there's no chance of one more cold snap, we've been hitting like, I don't know that we necessarily want to say full on record temperatures the last few years, but we're at least borderlining them. Like, it is unseasonably warm. Then we get into summer, and it's not just unseasonably warm, it's been unbearably hot at certain points. And so in a lot of instances, it is really hard to one, buy plants for our zone, and then get those plants to comfortably thrive, get them in the ground at the right time, get them to comfortably thrive, and then hope that we don't get flooded out. That we don't just get this massive torrential downpour that washes them away, just to turn around and go into like near drought conditions under blazing sun. It's been the wildest thing in West Virginia.
It has, and even the exchange is awful. But Dad always had this rule that if you're going to do a garden, you got to have it in by Memorial Day weekend. The last date of frost is April 30th. So that gives about 2.5 weeks there to play with. So you got to go back 8 to 9 weeks, even 10 for some seeds.
Right? To start that whole germination and do everything else. It's and get them potted in their little baby potters, and no, it's definitely been a thing the last few years, because it's been really hard to manage. Brenda said ours was never plant before May 1st. Fair enough. April 30th, May 1st. Yeah, it's right there. Same basically. So yeah. No, it's just for us here, it's just been really, really strange. And then even in our larger area, it's been a real problem for because of course our garden is small. Like it's like it's a little victory garden. You know what I mean? Like that's the size you've been shooting for. It's like it's a little victory garden. It's not really a put up, a like massive canning operation process. It's like, well, we'll grow a few things. Is sort of where we've been. But for those that are doing like large field planting, it's been massively, it's been a massive struggle. Like it seems like every year something has like knocked it out. Like it's been a horrible nightmare, because I think it was like 4 years ago, maybe,
Mhm.
was talking that like a little south of it, or a good bit south of us, um,
Mhm.
the local farmers there, they lost everything that spring.
Right.
And so, like, there was a massive torrential, flood.
Right.
So everything they just planted got washed away. They
Right.
replanted. There was another torrential downpour and washed everything
Mhm.
away. And so they replanted one more time, going, okay. And it happened again. So a lot of the local farmers stopped there, and they're like, we're broke.
Yeah.
Like, we can't. Like, I'm not doing that. I can't afford to do this one more time.
Right.
And then I think it was like the next year, it's like, well, the spring went well, and then we got into the summer, and
Right.
it blistered everything.
Right.
And it was like, lost it all. Like, got right down to the finish line, and it's like everything's just basically blighted to hell.
Mhm.
Because it was just so hot. You could not, literally almost could not get the plants watered. I think that was the timeline. Don't quote me on it. But I do remember it was really close together, and it was just like, this is a nightmare.
Right.
Like, you have a, like, and you plan and expect, like, one or two bad events per year. Like, something's gonna
Mhm.
go on. Generally it's not a total washout
Right.
3 times.
Right.
And generally it's not, you get almost to the finish line, and it's so scorching hot you can't,
Right.
you can barely try to water these plants. They're basically generating steam and cooking them on the vine.
Right.
Like, but it was about that level of just like
Mhm.
back to back to back. And I
Right.
really wonder about how many people just gave up.
Right.
That either they got out of farming, like sold their property, just said, screw it, I'm not cut out for this, I'm broke,
Mhm.
get me out of here. And how many other people that it wasn't even really a choice, they just went broke.
Right.
Like, broke. Like,
Right.
you're coming back from this, like, this got foreclosed on.
Mhm.
Because that, again, you plan for some, misadventures, but
Mhm.
the weather we've had, it's not just a little bit of a misadventure, it's like extreme weather.
Right. Yeah, I think that if I'm going to plant and I'm going to do my own seedlings, then I need to have that done by my birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just let them grow inside in little teeny pots. And when they get real big, and it's Memorial Day weekend, we fill in the rest of the bed and drop in the plants because we've doubled our raised bed. Well, we've built it to be doubled. Now we just need to fill it in.
Oh yeah. But it has been a couple, what, 2 years? Because I know last year it just wasn't even possible. Like, we started the spring and it was like, this is a madhouse.
It's been at least 3 since I've had a garden.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I was trying to think back to what happened the year before. Like, last year, I know it was a madhouse, and it was just like, we can't get anything done. Like, it was like a push with the businesses, push with this, a
Mm-hmm.
push with that. This other thing was going on, like health issues. Like, it just,
And it's normally my health that has knocked me out the past 2 years.
yeah. Well, I know last year though, it was basically like Thanksgiving, Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Like, what
Mm-hmm.
happened?
Yeah. Where are we? What are we doing? Oh, I'm lost.
It was like, and then it was like run and catch up, run and catch up, run and catch up.
Mm-hmm. And it was like, okay, we can't do this.
Yeah. It was like, well, maybe next year.
Right.
So, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It's just been really awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the last few years, there's always been something.
Right.
So,
yeah. All right. So there's been some decisions, some thoughts, and a lot of things going on, a lot of developments going on that we think are cool. Let's talk about the first one.
All right, so the Supreme Court upholds TikTok ban, threatening app's existence in the U.S. So the U.S. Supreme Court ruled on Friday that the federal government can legally shut down TikTok in the U.S., delivering a stunning blow to the viral video app used by about half of Americans. Last April, President Biden signed a bipartisan bill that said TikTok must spin off from its China-based parent company or shut down in the U.S.
Right.
TikTok contested the ban in court, arguing that it violates the free speech rights of both users and the company, an appeal that it took all the way to the Supreme Court, which heard the case on January 10th. The High Court's decision means that starting on January 19th, tech giants Apple and Google can no longer offer TikTok on their app stores. Web hosting providers must cut ties with the platform or be subject to fines of $5,000 for each user that can still access the service, a penalty that can easily add up to billions of dollars. TikTok's seemingly nonstop illegal limbo has sown widespread confusion among users over when and if the app will indeed stop working one day, but now the country's highest court has affirmed the federal ban. So yeah. In totally unrelated news, so all this, okay, let's stop there for a second and go back to the real problem. Okay, this is such a multi-layered onion. So the claimed problem is that because TikTok is connected to a company, its parent company, that is, of course, in China, and China has governmental laws that require data be turned over. There is no proof, no evidence, nothing concrete has ever been shown to prove prove it in situation ever happening, but they could. Chinese government could request data to the parent company of request data on users to the parent company of TikTok, and that they might give the data to China about TikTok users in the U.S. So our data would be, our privacy would be compromised, our data would be compromised. Cue the Cold War all over again. Okay, so that's the proposed reason or the supposed reason that this is all. All right, peel back one more layer. What actually happened is that Meta spent an ungodly number of billions of dollars lobbying for this to occur.
Right.
Under the supposed reason.
Right.
Solely on the belief, because so many users have left Meta, aka Facebook and Instagram, in favor of TikTok, in the drunken belief at this point, that if they shut down TikTok, all those users will go back to Meta products. Yeah. So problem one is even before they attempted this stunt, no one was going back.
Right.
People that left Meta, that left Facebook, they're gone.
Right.
They're done. Or the people that never signed up but did sign up for TikTok are not going to Facebook. And that before you meddled and interfered. Right. Now that you've meddled and interfered, funny hilarity has ensued. Now those users that left are diehard determined. They will never use your products because they can't believe you pulled this stunt. The users that never signed up in the first place are now diehard, never people. And in totally unrelated news, the number of US users of the literal Chinese alternative to TikTok, Red Note, has grown from 300,000
Mm-hmm.
to 3 million.
Right.
So what this actually means in terms of Red Note is you're shutting down TikTok because you were afraid of a situation that supposedly that could occur if the parent company of TikTok were to be asked by the Chinese government for data that they might give it to them about US users. You literally have 300,000 existing base users in the US that are already literally giving their data to China.
Mm-hmm.
Plus another 2.7 million that just showed up and said, here you go. Here you go.
We don't care.
And apparently from everything I've seen so far, that I've read, just to be clear, I'm not on RedNet. There's some reasons with that, but from everything I've seen and read so far, apparently Chinese Red Note users are really super cool about this, and they are being very welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of like really cool things are happening over there, as the U.S. quote unquote TikTok refugees find themselves on Red Note.
Right.
I just there is a level of FAFO to this.
Mm-hmm. Actually, there's a level of Gen X to this of like, fuck you. I'll share what I want.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, if that's the problem you think you could have, I will give you the problem
that you don't want.
That you really don't want.
Yeah.
Like it is very much the FAFO. I'm loving every second of that. Now I personally have not gone to Red Note. I don't think I will go to Red Note. I'm really kind of strong on that. Because it's not that I really care about China having my data. I care about the implications of being a Red Note user. And what that may long term mean. Because when you work in IT and you work with other people's systems, that opens a lot of doors. And those doors slam shut really, really quickly.
Right.
If you are attached to anything that is not government happy.
Right.
So
now I have gone to Lemonade and I just right now installed Clapper. Clapper is one I looked at before, back at the TikTok high ground when they were discriminating against us.
Oh yeah.
So I am on Clapper, but I'm really going to be getting content over to my Patreon. Like that, I'm getting back into my morning coffees. We're going to get back into routine here, guys. We may even get a nice blog. I figured out what I want to do because I was being trapped by that 2 minutes. I'm just going to record it and then upload it directly from the computer, so I won't be trapped by that 2-minute problem.
Oh, yeah.
Carmen, how are you? Good day, darling. Hope you're doing well. From down under.
Karen.
Yes. So, yes. And yes, my profile is the same everywhere. I don't care what social media you're on. It's Aeson Night.
Absolutely. So, all right. But no, I do find it hilarious. I really do. And I hope those of you that have gone to Red Note flipping have a blast.
Right.
Because yeah.
Right.
I like this is like the jewel in the crown of what we were talking about many episodes ago. When Facebook was sitting in on Senate hearings about the data leak or the Cambridge Analytica thing. When Zuckerberg had to be given a booster seat because he is a very apparently tiny man.
Right.
Which is still hilarious to me on so many levels. But I digress.
Right.
But so yeah, when we were talking about that, there was this whole, I don't know. I've lost my train of thought. I'm still thinking about him in his booster seat. Because it was so funny to me. I just can't miss an opportunity for that to bring that back up.
Right.
But that we even then were allowing we were giving away data.
Right.
Like, let's be clear, Cambridge Analytica sucked up so much data. Back to my original point, though.
Right.
So anyway, they sucked up so much data, there's no telling how much Meta ultimately fed long way around to China then. And that's my supposition there. But there was this whole moment in that where we were having to have the conversation about how ineffectual and clueless our elected officials were about what they were even talking about.
Right.
That and this has been a repeated technology problem with our elected officials in the U.S. is they have no clue. One, it is a level of removal of average American day-to-day life to begin with, complicated by the average age of the elected official. So that by the time they start trying to have this conversation, and many apparently do not even bother to listen to staffers, take input from staffers, or even try to read the question as the staffer wrote it. We're just asking the most bizarre, inane, disconnected, like, you don't even know how to operate a toaster, do you? Like, that's probably the highest level of technology you might be capable of.
Right.
Like, I think we could show this, like, 80-year-old senator how to operate a toaster and cross your fingers, the first couple of goes might not go well. Houses could be burned. And that's what we're seeing again here. With this whole TikTok ban, is you got lobbied into a situation because you didn't understand it, but the money was good for a problem, or like a fake problem that really just, like, to be unfair about it, grabbed you by the balls because all you heard was like World War nonsense. Like World War II level nonsense, that really didn't like connect with any concrete example of the situation occurring, or even an actual intent that could happen.
Right.
And then you tried to force a company to up and divest itself, thinking that because you're the United States federal government, this company's going to roll over and let you play with its belly. Only to have it go, that's fine, we're good. Like, we'll just shut down. I don't care.
Right.
Like, you want to take this to the greatest extent possible. Do that.
What worries me is the only other countries that have banned TikTok is Afghanistan, Iran, Jordan, and India.
It's an interesting group of people, isn't it? Like, stupidity makes strange bedfellows. Can we just point that out?
Right.
Like, this is interesting group of people to be hanging out with on the
Russia
TikTok. Oh yeah, on the We Ban TikTok bandwagon.
Yeah. And the reason for that is that TikTok did not filter and stop people networking together, people forming protests, people sharing unfeathered information.
Now, meanwhile, at the same time, Meta has turned around and decided that since we have 4 more years of the Cheeto,
Right.
shut down its fact-checking division.
Right, because they'd have to hire extra employees.
Like, it doesn't matter. Because, surprise. But some of the issues being brought about, or some of the issues that have been cited, outside of the current thing with TikTok is the proliferation, and even we've talked about it, of like bad information.
Right.
Like, it's heavy in witch talk.
Right.
Tons of bad information.
Right.
And people whose practices are skating edges of law they don't know about.
Right.
There's no malice there. It's just they don't know they're not supposed to answer medical questions. They don't know they're not supposed to answer financial questions.
Right.
Those kinds of things. As well as some like really bizarre practices. That it's like, that's not how that works. Right. But okay, you do you, honey boo boo. So the misinformation on TikTok can run high.
Right. I mean, it's giving me lovely content.
Oh yeah. We've talked about it in depth, on many occasions. But at the same time, like a lot of this has been used against TikTok,
right,
for the fact that it allows this misinformation. And it's like, it's not a news source.
Right.
We're not a news source. These are not people sharing news or articles. This is people's personal commentary, their personal beliefs, their personal opinions, their personal whatever. And it's really struggled in the face of like sites like Facebook that have been sharing personal opinion plus a news article, or personal opinion plus a doctored graphic, or a doctored image, or an AI generated image. It's been a real struggle between the two on the like misinformation, and it's like, but you were trying to claim there you were this bastion of correct information, and then you shut down your fact-checking division. Like, really? Was that part of the billions in lobbying, was that you had to agree to capitulate? Or did you just never want it to begin with, and you were capitulating then? Like, where's the capitulation? Because all this comes back to Cambridge Analytica. And the fact that, we massively manipulated an election, or Cambridge Analytica did, with the data that they used, through massive propaganda. But you, as Meta, want to take on, indirectly through the federal government, TikTok, for it could maybe happen.
Right.
You already demonstrated that you were glad to accept money for this. You weren't being compelled by a government. You just had money dangled in front of you. And you went, okay, here's everyone's data. We don't care.
Right.
Like, we don't care who buys it.
Right.
We don't care what they do with it. We don't care if you, like, totally trash our elections.
Oh, you already done that.
Yeah. Oh, Brenda says, so I'll finally quit being busted for posting jokes that they thought were serious and misinformation? I mean, right now, there's so many stories about Mark Zuckerberg and his tiny, tiny, tiny penis. I'm pretty sure you're safe now. Like, it's been a blast. Like, I just have to say, like, the reaction people have had to the fact-checking division being shut down has been hilarious. I will say that.
Right.
But yeah, not nearly as hilarious as the reaction TikTok users have had by going to Red Note.
Mm-hmm.
That is the mwah, chef's kiss.
Right.
Like, I love it. I'm if that is what one chooses to do, I'm all for it.
Now I'm over on Blue Sky. Like we're going to start posting there, because I'm not secretly happy with Twitter, especially with their new premium features. I'm also going to start using Clapper. I mean, what the hell? Can't beat them. We'll join them in different places.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right.
I'm in debate about Red Note, but I don't want to do Red Note, and here's why.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with data protection. It has to do with I don't have room to keep up with another one. Like we had this problem before.
Okay. Well, but if you're taking on Clapper, you could just throw that one out and go join all the Red Notes. I mean, you could. I'm just saying you could. It's an option. Because I mean, quite frankly, it seems to be like that's where your TikTok people are going in droves.
Right.
Like, I don't think Clapper's seen the boost.
Well, it has. I mean, it has been a very big competitor to TikTok. I'm not even sure it's on the App Store, but we'll check it out.
I'm just wondering if 2025 is the year that like social media dies.
That could be interesting to see. I mean, is it time for a MySpace epidemic? Now, what I've seen a lot of, and this is the reason that Patreon started getting things, is people moving their content to a paid service. Patreon, Stack, Substack.
Like there's a lot of movement in the field. A lot of things that social media was doing in the beginning are also things that like, because social media offered like people who were just like, I want to connect with friends and share information. So but I don't like all the effort of having web space, maintaining web space, learning to program in HTML, learning a content management system, all these things. I'm like, it was a quick turnkey solution. Like, we'll go to social media, there's a built-in audience, like stuff can be shared amongst them. We've seen a lot of other things popping up that aren't exactly social media.
Right.
I don't really think of Twitch as social media. I don't think of Discord as social media. They are very much communities.
Right.
Like they have the ability, they offer community functions, as well as shareability.
Right.
Like you can easily share that out. People easily understand that. People can easily find you, especially when you're connecting that to other places.
Right.
To like YouTube or to like the idea.
Right.
I'm just wondering if we're all about done with social media.
Maybe as we know it.
Like y'all don't.
Can I get back to MySpace where I can have like literally graphics and videos, and when you bring up the site, it plays my favorite song, and we can jockey for your top 10 friend.
The part that gets me is like, we all had that moment, or many of us did. Some of our audience may be too young to have ever had a MySpace, but there's the reality of the MySpace as part of the MySpace generation.
Right.
There was a point where this was amazing and we all loved it and it was the greatest thing ever and we just loved it and we did all the things and it was great. And then there was just this one totally forgotten day where we logged out for the last fucking time and we just didn't go back.
Right.
Like, that's all, folks. We just didn't go back. Like, and no one remembers that day. Like, it wasn't a conscious decision.
Right.
We just went, nah, I'm good.
I remember the day I logged in and it was gone.
Yeah, I remember there was a point in which we all tried to
Right.
go back. It was probably around the same time with a news article that came out, like, is MySpace dead? And we were all like, oh, I have a MySpace account.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we forgot about it. Like, it just poofed out of our brains all at the same time.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I miss MySpace, but the 10 Friends feature caused so much drama amongst friend groups. Understandable. Yeah, a lot of people got upset over the top 10 friends. But didn't you already know from about where you ranked from your top 5 friends and family that you had on your cell phone plan at the time?
Right.
People you could call for free, like where you ranked.
Right.
Like because that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the olden days when we had to pay minutes to talk to someone.
Not after 7.
Oh yeah. The nights and weekends, the world was a wild place with cell phones for a while, like the shit we paid for.
Mm-hmm.
It was nuts. But yeah, no, there like many of the popular cell phone plans had a top 5 or a top 3 or a top whatever.
Right.
And so I thought everyone already knew where they were ranking.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, if MySpace, I manage your top 10, well,
Right.
I may not be in your top 5.
Right.
But I'm in your top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And it means you really do want to talk to me when you're paying per minute or waiting nights and weekends to call me.
Right. Okay, so I downloaded Red Note, just for everyone wondering.
Oh, yeah, being limited to a certain amount of text. Ooh.
Mm.
Well, and here's me, like, I was over here going, texting is a fad, it's gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
Like, T9 and I never got along. My fingers are huge. And those little old candy bar cell phones with the tiny little buttons, you practically had to have a pencil eraser to hit, or at least I did, because my hands are huge.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is a fad. No one's ever going to keep doing this. Like, I don't know what the hell the rage is about texting.
Yeah.
Only to turn around, get my first touchscreen phone, and become like the texter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, my first phone with like a full keyboard, like the Creo that I had. But yeah, like, no. Oh, Emily misses forum boards because all posts were organized by topic, so you could choose to avoid politics instead of getting smacked in the face with them on your Facebook feed. But that's where I also go back to like Discord,
Mm-hmm.
and I even Twitch kind of does this. Is you have channels,
Right.
or some variant of it. It's functionally the same thing. That you can limit the scope of topic being discussed. If you want to go participate in that, you have fun, dudes.
Yeah.
I opt out. Like, I ain't go. Like, and I'm on a couple of different Discords, and like, there's a couple of channels that's like, oh no, I ain't going there.
There's a couple of channels that are so dang busy, I can't even keep up. Like, there's one for psychics that I'm in, and it posts like every 10 minutes.
Oh, Usenet. Oh, no, not Usenet. Please, not Usenet. Like, you say Usenet, I wonder how much fun it would be with high-speed internet. Because I remember Usenet on dial-up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Which, by the way, we have one patron in here. Brenda, do we need to bring back our Psychic Coffee Shop Discord? Now that I know how to run a Discord?
The skills you've picked up from Second Life.
I'm telling you, like, Second Life has brought them out. Of course, last night, I'm going to talk about this, and then we're going to go into the Second Life story. But last night, I got to test Enforcer. It was awesome watching that dude fly across the Sims.
Oh yeah, Brenda's all about the Discord.
Okay.
Yeah. No. I think we're all there. Like, and I really do appreciate. Like, don't get me wrong, I appreciate the algorithm concept. Conceptually, this should have been great.
I hate algorithm concept. Yeah.
Like, I like because we've been sold this in futuristic movies for years. This idea of like a news and social and like scheduling, like integration that would relevantly talk to us about like what's going on, what's going on in the world, show us things we would be interested in, and all of that should have been underpinned algorithmically. Like that would be the idea of how that would best work. Instead, we just kind of used it to like create like a 1% of elite posters, and sell us shit.
Right.
Like it's so, I don't know, Orwellian, Philip K. Dick, somewhere in there, so Dickian. So it's literally how you describe it. I'm not being dirty,
Right.
but it's Dickian. But yeah. Oh yeah. So my husband has quite a robust Discord community built up around his Twitch channel. Yeah, I figure she's cool with Discord.
Right.
Like yeah, we're there.
I
thought Twitch though had some built-in like similar Discord features, or am I totally wrong? Because I don't. I at one point briefly installed Twitch, and then I think a system crashed, and I just didn't go back to it. I had bigger fish to fry.
I like Twitch, but I don't like their users for our program.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. I was just curious because that may be a misconception I had in my head that Twitch offered like a separate set of similar Discord features or similar to Discord features, but okay.
Similar to YouTube features.
Okay. So it's more about moderation, less about getting people like sluiced into like, let's keep it on topic, buddies.
Yeah. That's where we had a lot of that's when we had to put Brenda to work and a lot of other people to work. And it was like, okay, we don't have anybody over here to moderate this.
Absolutely. So I did throw in a story. And I want to talk about it real quick before we get into the happy news of Second Life. Because I find this funny, and it's a short take. Right. Vice ran this title, and I love it. Walgreens CEO says locking up products was bad for business. No shit.
Right.
So the corporate freakout over shoplifting that's been going on for the past few years is a load of bullshit. There was not enough data showing these companies were getting their stock stolen to the degree they were saying they were. To combat the fake problem, companies enforced policies that anyone could immediately recognize as a stupid waste of time. Anyone other than the companies themselves. Until now, that is. While on a first quarter earnings call this past Friday, Walgreens CEO Tim Wentworth admitted that locking products behind a glass door severely hurt the company's sales.
Right.
But when you lock things up, for example, you don't sell as many of them.
Right.
We've kind of proven that pretty conclusively, Wentworth said, per Business Insider. Oh, for the love of God. They have finally figured it out that we will literally stop shopping stores.
Right.
Or take certain items that we know are locked up at like Walgreens or Walmart or wherever. And we will put them on a list for when I get to another store that does not lock them up. Can we please please, if nothing else, Dollar General. I don't care what you charge me for deodorant. You can raise the price of my deodorant. Will you please take it out of a lock cage?
Yeah.
Can you please take the alarm off of it? That is the most bizarre experience in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, people are stealing deodorant? Let them. Have you
Please.
seen it outside? Like, I don't care. I will pay $20 for a stick of deodorant. I don't fucking care.
As long as it works. If it doesn't work, we have an issue.
Now, we're pretty clear on deodorant works. Some people just can't afford it.
Well, no, there's some tracky ones out there.
Like, if you've identified it as a stolen product
Mm-hmm.
that requires an alarm,
Mm-hmm.
for the love of God, let people steal it. Just let them.
Right. You know, like the number of times, and this has happened at Walmart, the number of times I go into Walmart and I have to try to attempt to create, wait for someone to come and get me something that is stupid.
Razor blades. Oh my God, someone's going to shave?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, that's one product they have already run to the point. It's like $20 to buy a stupid razor.
Right.
How much loss can you possibly have?
Right.
How much loss?
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, someone shaved?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm paying $20 for a fucking razor set with 2 fucking replacement blades, I should cover a few of those.
Right.
A few people should be able to shave for that. Like, they can sticky finger a couple. Like, as expensive as that is, you cannot tell me, you cannot prove to me that invested in that whole packaging, that Gillette has spent more than 75 cents.
Right.
You will never convince me of it.
Right.
And then they sell it for what, $15, $16?
$22.50.
Oh, we're up to $22.50 now?
Yeah.
Still 3 or 4.
Right.
Like, I'm just saying 3 or 4 people should be able to steal that product as long as you sell one of them.
Right.
You will still turn a profit.
Right.
Let some people shave their legs. Get some of the beards away. Hey, and I'm starting to really question if that's why we're seeing such a, like, surge of people with beards, is because they're just not bothering to go through the nightmare and pay the $22 for a razor that I swear to God, you will never convince me that Gillette spent more than 75 cents on that product.
Right.
Yeah, so Emily says, this is why Amazon is so much more popular. Gotta wait a couple of days to get it, but still quicker than tracking down a Walmart employee that has a key.
Right.
Yes.
It's always a thing.
Now, I will say Emily also brings up a really good point about why loss or fear of loss is becoming such a thing. As these stores have tried to bare bones on employees, there is no one walking around, because she points out employees walking around the store is usually enough to discourage the occasional sticky finger.
Right.
The problem is, have you tried going into a Dollar General recently if it is not massively busy?
Right.
I'll tell you right now, you will be standing there for a while waiting on an employee to check you out. Why? Because there's 2 in the store.
Right.
And they are doing their best to restock shelves.
Right.
All right.
Okay. So talk to me about this new thing. Like, I might not need a supercomputer.
Exactly. So Second Life in your browser, a new initiative from Linden Labs. So this is actually from an interview article, and I don't want to get all that deep into it.
Okay.
But they have launched Project Zero, which I find this so entertaining and awesome and a lot of things. So basically what it does is, instead of installing or necessarily needing to install a viewer for Second Life and do all the graphics processing on that computer, which takes a lot of processing power. This isn't Scrabble.
Right.
And so it keeps a lot of people out of the game. This would allow you to, for Linden Labs, they are doing rendering on the server, and then as long as you have a device that's capable of streaming, i.e., if you can log in to Max or Netflix or whatever and stream a video, your browser and computer or device are capable of Second Life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. Now, what I find interesting about this, and like the part of me that screamed when I read it, not enjoy, was this isn't new.
Right.
So Christmas 10 years ago, I bought an OnLive device. A company that was like faded. And I didn't know it then.
Right.
OnLive in April 2015 was bought out by Sony, who shut them down almost immediately. Online was a service that provided the same thing, streaming, to this little tiny, like wallet-sized device that would allow you to play a plethora of games through streaming. Now, there were some issues with that, like the lag could be a problem.
Right.
But ultimately, and the reason I bought it, was Second Life worked beautifully on it. Beautiful graphics, beautiful experience, wonderful thing. 10 years later.
Right.
We're finally getting into game companies, or Second Linden Labs especially, are starting to realize that part of their adoption issue, the reason they're not seeing newer users, is because there's a barrier to entry there.
And it's getting worse.
Yeah. That in certain markets, you're never going to get users. They can't afford it.
Right.
So if you want to penetrate those markets, you need something that works on the barest level of devices and offers a good to great experience. So right now this is still Project Zero is still in testing. It's a very limited time that you're allowed to use it, anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour. But I will say I was in briefly earlier, and it is amazing. Like,
you go everywhere.
Like, to get that level of graphics quality, I would probably have to spend $3,000 to $4,000 upgrading.
Right.
And that's the monster computer that runs my business. Like, that's where we're at with that. So I did want to mention that no one is talking about it, which is the weirdest part. And so attached to that, the only article I did find was from VentureBeat, talking about Linden Lab has spent $1.3 billion building Second Life and paid $1.1 billion to creators.
Right.
And they're basically just talking about the financial position of Second Life and where it's going forward. Literally no one else has covered this.
Right.
Like, it has gone completely unnoticed. Now, I find this interesting because here's the weird part. Meta bought Linden Labs.
Right.
As an end run possibility to the metaverse. So it means that there's a very heavy possibility that Meta has started to at least acknowledge, because they were really struggling with this idea that they were going to launch this, the metaverse, very, very quickly, and everyone was going to adopt it and everyone was going to be there, only to find out it's hard. And that Users are not really prepared to spend that kind of money.
Right.
So if we move so I'm thinking what's happening is Linden Labs is being used on this front as a guinea pig
Right.
for a streaming service that then Meta could put on a very cheap device.
Mm-hmm.
Once it works in a browser, you need next to nothing to then power a VR headset.
Right.
Is where I'm thinking this is all headed. It is a really high quality VR headset, a really, really stupid level of processing power to open a web browser.
Right.
And ta-da, metaverse for under $1,000.
Right.
With probably a $20 to $50 a month subscription.
Right.
This is my prediction on that. We'll see where that goes.
Exactly. All right. Our Discord is open for our Patreons. The invite link is posted. Yay. Yes. There's a section called newspaper. I think I may do two different sections here. One will be for our Patreons and one will be for our Patreon followers. Two channels.
2 levels.
Yeah, well, we can literally tear it all out, but
open to everyone and then open to the select.
Right.
Like the Patreon payors. Y'all earn that. Our baristas earn that.
Oh, they earn every penny of it. I mean, everything that we do, they we need to do more for them, and it's just getting it together.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. So all right, moving on. Am I the asshole for leaving my friend after he hooked up with his third cousin? All right, so now I want to go ahead and say this post got locked because it does deal with a terminating relationship, terminating contact issue. And apparently the Am I the Asshole has a sister Reddit, which is Am I the Asshole Relationships. So no one really responded to this one, and I don't know if it moved on. But here we go. This one looks like a fun mess. Hey guys, I wanted to see if I can get any opinions in the situation I'm in with one of my best friends I've been close to for a while. So around May is the last time we actually saw each other because he went off to the Air Force. But as a queer man in the military is already deep hidden homophobia in that field. Through all that, we still kept in touch because he barely has family or friends in his new area in Arizona. Where he's staying now. But recently around December, he was finally excited to tell me about this guy he had met from this website called Sniffies. For the queer community that knows this app, you know what goes down. Basically, it's like a Grindr equivalent. We'll go with that. Anyways, he proceeds to tell me how attractive and thoughtful this gentleman was, and a great friend like me, I'm very happy and agreeing with him. But this took a turn when he told me after they hooked up, they found out they were third cousins. So in my brain, I'm thinking ew, this is disappointing and disgusting that this one-time thing, turned out this way. No, they kept hooking up. The worst part is the guy he's hooking up with has been in a relationship with a woman for 8 years. Such a messy situation as I'm listening to my best friend spill his heart out about this boy who's obviously playing him as the side hoe, but mentally playing with his emotions by giving him boyfriend treatment when they're not even dating. So a couple of days ago, he called me up in the morning to tell me what happened between them and continues to tell me how he picked him up late at night while his girlfriend was asleep so they can go to a hotel and have sex. Okay. When he finally drops him off back at his house where he currently lives with his girlfriend, aka manipulator, Boyfriend notices how the light is on in the house and realizes his girlfriend is up. So my friend decides to snoop around after he drops him off to see what was happening. He sees them arguing in and out of the house after they got done fighting. His girlfriend hops in the car and was speeding through the streets, furious from the situation. In my head right now, he's telling me this, and I'm feeling truly disgusted by this type of behavior. It's just not right being in drama like this, especially if you're hooking up with your cousin, knowing you guys are related. But his reason to me why he did all this, because it's very lonely where he is, because there aren't that many openly gay people in the Air Force, which I get, but not this desperate side. I love my friend, but I don't think I can keep putting up with stories like this if I'm on a totally different journey as a queer woman. Being a queer woman is way different than the experience of a gay male after my relationship with my best friend. So am I the asshole for cutting him off? All the drama to get to am I the asshole for cutting him off? I want to hear yours.
This is so fucking messy. I'm going to say you're not the asshole for cutting him off.
I can agree with that. I think there's several things that make OP an asshole.
Right.
Like, I think you're throwing around best friend way too low.
Right.
Because obviously this is not a ride or die best friend. This is like,
right.
No, I know them.
Right.
Like we're close. Occasionally, we're friends.
Right.
I know them. Is sort of like where you're at with this person. I don't really think it's about like dating his third cousin, or the third cousin is married and cheating on his girlfriend, and there's all this drama. And I think you're looking for an excuse to cut off someone that honestly you're not best friends with. But rather than admit that you're not best friends with them and that this is a shallow relationship, and you've been playing the role of bestie,
right,
to someone who was in desperate need of friends, who is very isolated, who has been very isolated, you don't want to have the guilt.
Right.
So you're looking to demonize your best friend.
Right.
And I use air quotes around that because they're not. And make it all about his behavior. Now, I think it's the best thing in the world that cousins are dating. No, I don't. But they're cousins, technically. More than legal to get married, even if they're the gender.
Right.
So I think really one of the best things you can do for your best friend is to actually admit that they weren't your best friend and that you're cutting off contact because you don't really care.
Right.
Not enough to actually invest in them as a person, and you're scared for shit.
Right.
So that's my theory. What say y'all?
I'm going to go asshole, but I'm going asshole for making a choice, for making drama out of shit that's like none of your business.
I'm going to go technically not the asshole for the question you asked.
Right.
So, all right. So let's pop that poll up, and you.
Yeah, it's up, waiting for the votes to come in.
Yay! All right. So as gay bros over 30, and this one is declared as 35 to 39, match then ignore. What is the deal with guys matching on dating apps and then not responding ever when I reach out? I match with a good number of guys, and 95% of them never respond to my messages, or will start responding but take 3 to 5 or more days to respond to my responses. Maybe it's me, maybe because I have kids and they realize that. I've thought of just asking them, but don't want to come across as needy. But I do need someone to respond. Those of you who do this, why do you do it? Why even match if you aren't going to talk at all?
Right. Here's the thing. Matchings are nice, but they're not always completely the way it is.
Okay.
Okay. People sometimes match and don't match.
Okay. I see what you're saying is they didn't read the profile, they liked on the look.
Or
You
it's an
match because you both just liked on the look.
Or you match because what you put in your profile looks pretty. Y'all guys have the same interest in hiking and biking and, swimming or long distance sports. And maybe, other things occur there that you like.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
But this is kind of talking about we can't even start the conversation to see if we actually are compatible.
Right.
And the conversation is like, I send a message, wait a few days, they respond. I send a message, wait a few days, they respond. Like, what is with that scenario? Is I really think what they're getting down to is like this is their constant problem.
Right. I think the constant problem is their profile and what they're looking for, which are two different things, don't match. Okay. As in, they don't match on opinions. They don't match on maybe. Example, if I see a dude has kids 10 years ago, I wasn't interested. I'm kind of not interested now.
Okay. But you've matched. You may not know that yet. Maybe you didn't read the profile.
Right.
If you're not even getting out of like, hi.
Right.
How's it going? Wait 3 days. You know what I mean? Like, it would take a while to get to I have kids.
Not if it's in the profile.
Well, yeah, but not if they're not reading the profile.
Well, true, but most dudes do read your profile. The matching part is done automatically by the system.
Ah, there you go.
Looking for 35 to 40, dark hair, dark eyes, an income of 120 to 330. But okay, so the system matches you there. The system thinks, oh, y'all be great. That'd be wonderful. You two look like you match on paper. Flip into the profile. Have children, adult diaper fetish, and enjoy long walks on the beach. Unmatch and move on.
Yeah. I'm going to go a different route. I really think it's app fatigue.
Right.
Like, I'm kind of creating a phrase here. I literally think people on the apps just get exhausted.
Right.
It kind of gets to a point that when you're in apps, unless you're really trying to hardcore set something up for right now,
right,
it gets exhausting.
Right.
To like someone someone sent me a smile, someone sent me a message. Are they a bot? I don't know if they're a bot. If you wait a couple of days, you usually figure out real quickly when their profile gets suspended that they are a bot because they mass messaged everyone. All right, so you're not a bot. Okay, cool. So now I have to go through this awkward exchange of hi, hello, how's it going? What are you up to? Not much. Well, and over and over and over and over and over. It is the most unnatural way to meet people ever.
Right.
unless you are intending to hook up.
Mhm.
Trying to use apps to meet someone and date
Right.
is exhausting.
Right.
I think, truly, sincerely, the only people going through it have an intent to hook up, one and done,
Right.
and move on. So they'll invest the effort. Maybe
Mhm.
they have a kinky fetish for screwing daddies, the
Mhm.
literal kids. And then after that, they're just done.
Right.
And I think that, like, we've had friends go through this.
Mhm.
And so I think it does wear on the dating user.
Right.
That's just, why am I investing the effort? Why am I letting this, like, interrupt my life? Do you really want me to invest the time
Right.
to show up and try to talk to you,
Mhm.
and I'm not the hookup you're looking for?
Mhm.
So I think a lot of it is just a fatigue with apps
Right.
trying to date.
Right.
All right.
All right. So let's take a look at that poll, see where we're at. Ooh.
Survey says
No, but everyone's shitty here. It's an equal display.
that seems fair.
Yep.
That seems fair.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, a lot of justification of behaviors.
Mhm.
That's fair.
Right.
I do love Emily's comment. I almost went out with a guy until we were talking and realized that we were second cousins.
Mhm.
By marriage, so not blood related, but still creepy enough for us to decide to cancel the date and stay friends.
Right.
Oh, sometimes it all works out,
Right. And that's small, what's the word I'm looking for here? Small town community, that's definitely the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Can definitely, and in West Virginia, it can be a challenge.
Mhm.
Like, I know there's so many jokes, but really, when you have families,
Mhm.
long established families that
Right.
especially had a number of children,
Mhm.
and have stayed relatively within the same general area.
Right.
While it's great to have that long-standing heritage,
Mhm.
it does kind of start to screw with the pun not intended,
Mhm.
screw with your dating pool.
Right.
Because at some point, 2 becomes 4, becomes 8,
Right.
becomes 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024, 2048. Like,
Mhm.
even if every generation only has 2 kids,
Right.
like, it keeps spiraling out of control.
Right.
So you very quickly start being, like, if not near relatives,
Mhm.
purely, like, strictly DNA based relatives, you start becoming relatives by marriage.
Right.
And again, especially if this is an area where a lot of people just stay.
Right.
And so it becomes a real problem to have that population,
Mhm.
unless you have, well, and especially even, I guess, if you have multiple quote unquote founding families
Mhm.
that have settled this area and they just stayed.
Mhm.
And so your pool starts to need a little
Right.
plumbing.
Right.
And it gets very, very hard not to have or run into relationships that
Right.
people may not have initially caught off the bat.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't mean like second cousins. That one's usually a little easier to spot.
Right.
But you do unfortunately run into
Right.
people that it's like, 8th, 12th, 15th cousins.
Right.
And by marriage, so it's no direct bloodline, but it's
Mhm.
like the family trees start to become a hedge.
Right. Well, it's like 2 houses up from us.
Mm-hmm.
There's a gentleman whose last name's the same as ours.
Well, the same as yours, yeah.
Yeah, we've had this discussion. With the mail carrier, we've had to explain that this is not their house is not our house.
Yeah.
It got even worse when 911 came through and flipped our addresses.
Well, I have a long-standing comment because I've run into people that will just see my last name and either think we're related or ask if I'm related to someone with the same last name.
Right.
And I have the same response every time.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather was one of 26 kids, and I think his father was like one of 8. Our family tree is extensive. So probably.
Right.
We're probably related. I have no clue. I've probably never met them. I have no idea who they are. It's not like we lived in the same house or the same neighborhood. Like, you know, I have no idea.
Right.
You are doing a query on Google right now.
Right.
For how big that family tree is. Because sincerely, it's impressive printed out. Because at one point my dad did like print out the whole family tree. Holy mother. It was done on a continuous feed, so a continuous roll of paper, and it rolled up about this big around.
Right.
So about, I think it was like 28 inches wide, by just yards and yards. Because like within that outer size, like it had a thickness of about a good 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches.
Right.
And it just continuous family tree.
Right.
Are we related? Maybe. And then God forbid if it's a relation by marriage, like, oh, sweet Jesus. Like there's so, and it's also a problem, especially in West Virginia. The Bailey families. That's one of the bigger names in West Virginia, and a friend of mine with the last name had a similar issue.
Right.
And it's the realization that they're not all, like if you go all the way back up someone's family tree,
right,
there are multiple Bailey family trees that are completely unrelated.
Right.
Like completely unrelated. And it's like, probably not. Depends upon where they're from.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, good luck. It's like Smith and Jones. It's like, God help you to figure out if we're related. That is gonna be you'll be 20 years trying to see if the family trees overlap.
Or the Pittmans. Dear gods. Like that tree is like your tree. It like I don't know needs to be trimmed. Could be, live in California.
Well, I mean, I'm 42. I'm gay, and I have no children, so I'm doing the best I can.
Hey, we're working on it. We're working on it.
Like I've avoided sperm donation for a reason. Okay. Multiple reasons, but that's one of them. It's up there.
Okay. All right, guys. So the Patreon had a new feature called, and you can join you don't have to pay. You're going to get some exclusive content, not a lot. I've also opened the Discord to our free members. You have to be a member of the Patreon to get a link to the Discord. You can go over there. You can join. There's areas for like our baristas to submit newsletters and funny because they love to get me on memes and stuff. And the break room's there for chat and seriousness. And I'm going to create another one called Aeson on Sale, or the sales aisle or clearance aisle, so that you guys can keep up with like sales and discounts and that type of thing. That way we have communities that we can control, if that makes any sense.
Well, and with the kind of destabilization of like social media going on, it's probably a nice idea.
Yeah.
To at least go follow the Patreon, which we'll talk
Right.
about that a little more in a second. And make sure that your favorite content creators right now, especially those on TikTok, like go pay attention to them. They are
Right.
up and out where they're headed.
Right.
And you got about 3 days to make sure that you save that, or you will be
Right.
hunting.
Exactly. All right. So speaking of our Patreons, we do want to take a moment to support them and to thank them for the support and the running of the network.
Absolutely. Of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Brenda, Joan Owen, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Caitlin Bell, Devin, Bella, and Maria Meyer. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes. All right, guys. You have a great evening, and we'll see you later. Bye, y'all.
Bye.